Welcome back to part 2 of our discussion on HMI, human-machine interface, here on the IAA Mobility Visionary Club. I have a great panel of guests here with me. You heard their views in part 1. Now it's time to challenge them. We'll start here with Ulrich. You are the Director of Strategy and Portfolio UX Business Area at Continental. Great to have you with us.
Yes, thanks for the introduction. Great to be here.
All right. To my right, Niels Volny. You're the CEO and co-founder of HoloRide.
Thank you, Sarah. Great to be here.
Good to have you. And last but very certainly not least, Fabian Beste, the CEO and co-founder of Fourscreen.
Yes, welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. Guys, I heard your views in the first part. We talked a little bit about how each of you imagines the HMI of the future, but now it's time to really question those views and see how well they hold up under scrutiny. So, Ulrich, let's start with you. We've heard a lot about these new interfaces and how great the future is going to be, but isn't what we already have the safest, most established, and most tested version? Aren't a lot of these HMI concepts, and I'm looking at you, Niels, just distracting the driver from what he should be doing, focusing on the road?
Yeah, we are not there. I think we are in a big change, and driver distraction is a real topic. Yeah? So I think you coming from mechanical interaction with the car, not much distractions, and now at this point in time having a lot of content, a lot of screens, and I think exactly that's the point. So what I say, it has to become more intuitive, so means how to use the car becomes more intuitive. Same time you have immersive, so you have more immersive experiences, which, let's say, have a user experience. Yeah, it's about a story and a real experience. But for sure, it does not mean that you interact or distract the driver. So there are also changes now about the passengers.
How do you balance that when you're thinking about product design, something that's going to be engaging but not distracting? Because there are more and more screens in our car, and isn't it a bit of a contradiction to say you're not allowed to text while you drive, but you can have 15 different displays constantly showing you content?
I totally agree, but I think you have to focus on the different roles of the passengers in the car. So there is the driver, of course, that shouldn't be distracted, but there are also usually passengers on board, and they have totally different needs during their journey. So you have to come up with ways how to entertain them, inform them in a way that is not influencing the driver. One way, for example, is adapting the content to the driving and not, for example, in our solution, we're offering games, not forcing the driver to change its habits when you consume a specific type of content. So it has a lot to do with the different roles in the car, but also the content and the ways you're offering. And personal devices are one way to maybe go away from the installed screens.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe more fitted to the audience. Yeah. So you may have privacy functions like screens not showing to the co-driver, not to the driver, or like audio sound solutions, just bubbles and things like this. Yeah.
This is the most private way to consume visual content in a car, by the way.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to use it in the front seat, correct?
Definitely not. So
even if you're in the passenger seat?
Absolutely. It's for backseat passengers only for safety reasons. And also there you have your cozy backseat area where you usually can very much immerse into worlds, into content, into entertainment. Yeah.
Okay. You're making a product for backseat passengers, Niels.
Correct.
But we know that most cars are driven by one person alone. Can this product really become ubiquitous before we are fully autonomous in our driving?
So in a general view, you are right. However, there is a big difference in regions. And our first version of our product is for teenagers on back seats.
Okay.
So Gen Z, I hope they don't drive cars yet. So they're always passengers in cars. And if you look at the pure numbers, we already have a so-called passenger economy because every day around the globe, there are at least 1.4 billion trips in private passenger cars with a passenger on board, not just the driver. So this is already a massive audience. And the auto industry so far was always focusing on buyers and drivers and not so much on passengers. And this is where we think that it's already time to have such a solution. But you're right, it accelerates automatically with autonomous driving.
Yeah.
Because eventually we all become passengers.
Yes, and perhaps sooner rather than later. But that's a discussion for a different episode of the IAA Mobility Visionary Club. Little plug there for you. Fabian, tell us a little bit about what Fourscreen is doing. What is the point of this app?
Actually, it's not an app. It's seamlessly...
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. It's seamlessly integrated into the existing HMI of every car brand.
So it's on the display in your car, and it's showing you where a supermarket is next to a charging station, for example.
Yes, for example. So providing an interface for those supermarkets, restaurants, charging station providers, etc., or even fleet managers to interact with drivers. So while driving, imagine a user journey, you're interacting with your outside. Yeah? So you're stopping by, doing your errands, etc. And though those businesses are already displayed there, and what we do is enriching this and giving more dynamic, more live content into the car the driver can interact with safely, of course. As Ulrich just said, driver distraction is a big topic for sure. So it needs to be relevant, it needs to be very intuitive and reduced in the end. And that needs to be controlled, and that's what we provide, a platform to control that.
Can we use this for passengers as well?
Yes, we could even say into the virtual world, we include the business you're driving by. So could, for example, say, hey, remind me for my lunch break while I'm in the immersive virtual reality. And then the restaurant of your choice or your favorite restaurant could appear the moment you're passing by, and you can decide whether to stop.
Yeah. We should talk about a collaboration.
I'm sensing some potential for collaboration, but go ahead.
I think also what's important is the situation-based, so that really we use the data in the car, it's situation-based, so let's say you know exactly he has to charge, so then you can make this offering. On the other hand side, I think there are these new experiences, like, for example, augmented reality, so you can comment points on the side, and it's not about driver distraction, so it's more like natural interaction.
Yeah. However, I think if you're talking about passengers, you can not just mirror what's in the real world, but if you're going into a more motorverse or metaverse-driven world, you could also place virtual objects at specific locations and open up for a completely new way of doing business. So you don't necessarily need to connect stores that are at the location they are, but you can create virtual ones as well. So I think there's untapped potential for the automotive industry for new business models.
Yeah.
Okay, but potential for the industry. But what about as a driver? So I'm coming back to you here because I asked each of you a challenging question.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of potential in mobility data, but is it really providing additional value to the driver, or is he or she just being constantly spammed with offers for like discounted burgers? Like how does it actually feel if you're driving? Do I really want that?
Nobody wants that. So nobody wants spam. That's irrelevant. That's annoying, etc. So I think the art is to integrate seamlessly, as said, and leveraging car data, as Ulrich just said, to make it more relevant to understand the needs of the car. So it's playing clear.
Give us an example. What does that look like? How do you leverage car data to make it more relevant?
A very, very easy example, and there are many. The car knows when to charge. So we have a forecast when your battery runs empty. And you can plan ahead. And the car could provide you the next charging stop with a restaurant nearby, because it knows you need to spend to fulfill the trip. You need half an hour of charging. And a restaurant nearby, and not an industry area where you don't have anything. And the restaurant, of course, benefits in the end that you're going there and eating something. But you as a driver have a high value in the end. And we can even combine those services into a totally new customer value, for example, that the restaurant sponsors even the ride or the parking spot. And you get a commercial infrastructure behind that. And that's already one part of the vision. And that's way beyond anything annoying, etc. So you are interacting with those physical spaces, places. Why not digitally better integrating?
How important is the digital experience for the consumer overall? We haven't talked a lot about the actual performance of the vehicle. How do you think the consumers of tomorrow are going to weigh up the specs on this car versus what the display can do?
It's essential.
Yeah. The user always compares to the consumer industry. And the trends are still coming out of the consumer industry, but I think he expects the same, let's say, experience in the car. So seamless experience, and let's say technology-wise, means if you have flat screens or narrow borders or whatever specification, you want to see it in the car. So basically what you have in your smartphone. And same with the data and the software.
But wouldn't it? You need to fulfill the basics. It needs to be seamless, etc. And then you can create even better experiences on top, as we just discussed with car data. That is unique. Yeah, you don't have in a smartphone. You don't have those sensors. Billions of interactions in the car while driving. A lot of sensor data. The distance to the car in front of you, for example. The speed, etc. Yeah, that's all unique, and you could even create a better experience, as Niels just said.
But with all this perception of cars, I mean, we always think about, okay, how to mirror the user experience that I'm used from my living room into the car. I think the auto industry should focus more on making use of the fact that the car is a very unique place moving through the world, and currently it's like making transit time less dull for people. But how about you're getting into the car to experience something, not just to travel from A to B? I mean, and I think the thinking needs to go more into this direction, to not always lag behind the consumer industry, to really make a leap forward and change the way we perceive mobility in general.
And if you have autonomous cars, zero or low emission, etc., mobility will change a lot. Yeah? And then also integrating businesses, making it more economic in the end, could even lead, as you just said, to the fact that you say, hey, I'm visiting a friend, 4 hours of drive, but it's low on emission, and I can enjoy a movie while driving. So I take maybe other decisions. It's not a matter of fact that I need the mobility to fulfill some sort of task in the end, but you say it's an element of your daytime, and that will increase the drive time and the enjoyment while driving in the end. And that's what you mean, I think.
Apple recently announced a new version of CarPlay that's going to expand onto, I see you laughing, let me finish the question and then I'll let you comment. It's going to expand onto other screens in the vehicle, for example, the speedometer. What approach do you think is going to prevail in the future, an OEM system or third-party integration?
So, I wouldn't say there's no one way, but I think it's relatively clear that the automotive industry is aware that they shouldn't leave the car up to the California tax, basically. Yeah? And I know, but still I'm wondering. Basically it's just a surface. Yeah, I think, as you said, the car industry has to do the OEM industry has to do their own impulses, and I think that's what they are going to aim for. It's not a way. I wouldn't say it's not a way to leave them just introducing the systems there and getting all the data to them. Yeah.
But if they don't do it fast enough, isn't there a risk that I, as a consumer, will be like, hey, I can just plug my phone in and I don't need your system?
Yes, for sure. They have to innovate, and I think that's also pressure, and that's even good, because it drives the industry forward, and that really this change is going to happen.
Yeah. And you have two different views. Yeah? The first one is, of course, WhatsApp, music apps like Spotify, etc., needs to be integrated seamlessly from the outside, and of course, why not? With this technology. And then there are driver and car-focused and mobility-focused functions that are way more difficult. As said before, you need the sensor data, for example, to plan the charging stop ahead. Of course, that in this announcement will be shared, but there's so much more. And I think that's the relevant question in the end. So how to seamlessly integrate the outside of your smartphone, Spotify, etc., but also create mobility-focused and new experiences that are unique for this type of device.
I think the question has two layers. The one part is the general operating system. And I think this will be a massive fight over the next years. Who prevails in this game?
Who do you have your money on?
It's hard to say. I mean, I can't predict the future. But let me come to the second part. There is the application layer. And I think it's important for the auto industry to think about the fact, how can they really contribute value to passengers? And then by contributing to this value, how can they be part of this value chain? And as I said earlier, I think they need to alter their thinking a little bit and say, what if I extend the car into the dominant consumer ecosystems, and how can I contribute with applications that are unique, where only the car manufacturer or the mobility industry at large can contribute to this? And then we don't know who will pay for it, whether it's business sponsored or if a user pays for the services. However, if you generate this value, then taking a cut of it. And I think there needs there is more to it than just talking about the operating system. It's turning business logics upside down.
That's a fair point. I get the sense that we have a lot more to talk about. I feel like we should do another episode on this. Guys, just to close it out, you're given a time machine. You can travel to any point in the future. Tell me where you're going and why this is interesting for HMI. And new rule, you can't say the same thing as someone else. Ulrich, you get to start.
I would go to 2040 because we have a very good looking forward or vision already what's going on the next 10 years from our business planning and what's going on with our innovations. So then 2040, I would see how it is and can from there reward back what's going to change, what's going to be the drives in the next decade.
All right, 2040 is taken. Niels, where are you going?
You go first.
Oh, that's very gentlemanly of you. All right, Fabian.
Yeah, go to maybe 2035.
2035?
Yeah, really new developments, augmented reality, virtual reality, etc. So blending seamlessly together into one nice device in the end, and then of course all those services happening around that. I'm really looking forward to it. Interacting with the outside, highlighting buildings in augmented reality. And also providing additional content there. I think that will be really, really nice.
All right. And finally?
I go last and closest. I go to 2025.
Okay.
We're launching this year. Next year, you'll see, in 2023, you'll see a lot more devices coming to the market that are very comfortable to wear, that users will more likely adopt. In 24, we might see one major player from Silicon Valley where everybody is expecting at every keynote that something will happen. Probably in 24 it will happen. So I think 25 will be very interesting because this will be the year where we really see motion and location aware content and applications being consumable in cars and car manufacturers earning money with it.
Okay. The future looks bright, 2040, 2035, and 2025. I hope to be there for all of them. Guys, thank you so much for this discussion. Ulrich Luders, Niels Volny, and Fabian Beste. It was a pleasure having you here on the IAA Mobility Visionary Club. Tune in to our extra episodes. You can see part 1 on the side of your screen, and we'll have more talks about the future of mobility coming up. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.